there was a time in my life where I literally had to cut out every single person that I associated with. Now, of course, family was very different at that point in time, right? But during that period, I was running the streets, as they say, smoking dope, selling dope. I was involved in all kinds of shenanigans and unsavory activities, as we would say, with this new vocabulary that we have developed. But basically, I was acting a fool. I was just a knucklehead, right? And I was running around with other individuals who were in that very same mentality. And during that period of my life, before I obviously removed myself from those circles of individuals, I remember feeling as if the drugs were difficult to cut out of my life to a certain extent. The lifestyle, a little more difficult, but the people around me, when I tell you, like, we have addiction to people more than we do to substances, I believe that to be a full-blown fact, right? And you probably seen it in your intimate relationships or whatever it may be, or maybe you've seen somebody who's gone into a toxic relationship and you're like, why are they still in that relationship? What do they see in that person? I don't understand why they're still entertaining. Like, that energy is exactly what I found myself in at the age of 17, 18 years old. Right before I made that transition out, I realized that the reason why I just could not leave that life was because I had these people imprinted within my own personality. I identified with them at a core level. They were me and I was them. And to leave them meant I was leaving a part of myself. That's how I truly felt. And so it pained me. And these, some of these individuals I knew for most of my teen life at the very least, right? I moved from overseas, so there's not many people I had known from like the age of 10 plus, but these were people that I had grown so close with that I had come to recognize as my true inner circle, as my tribe. And so to leave that literally felt like pulling myself from a physical village and going out into the wilderness where I know nothing and I know nobody. And though I was in circles that demonstrated destructive behaviors and put me into trouble more times than any good situation, I still had that addiction to being within those groups, within those circles. And so when I see individuals struggling to pull themselves out of certain environments, I empathize at a very deep level because I understand that leaving them folks is not easy. Leaving that person is not easy, right? And again, it's not because it's not simple. Like, the steps are straightforward. I could give you 5 steps to guide. But the reason why it is so difficult is because of that emotional bond and connection, which is really rooted in what those people demonstrate. Like, we know that once we leave that circle, now we have to face ourselves. And now we have to identify ourselves without them. Now we don't have that mirror we used to have to say, oh, they are me, I am them. And a great example of this is this. And I'm not saying this to try to be offensive or shame anybody, but this is just a stone cold truth. If you are somebody who is currently overweight and you surround yourself with individuals who are also overweight, you guys identify with one another, right? Maybe a lot of your conversations, a lot of your relationship dynamics are built towards or built around, that extra weight you got on, right? Around eating, around a lifestyle of, beverages and food and, those type of habits that you guys share with one another, maybe different types of vehicles of sugar that you enjoy, right? But as soon as you make a decision to become fit and to become healthy, I promise you, you are going to feel the deepest level of resistance. And it's not going to be that it's difficult to, shed the weight. Again, there's a process and it's pretty straightforward. And it's not that you are necessarily in a place where you are, struggling to get your mindset to do the thing. It's simply that the people around you, what they represented for you, right? What they meant to you is now going to vanish into thin air in most people's cases. Now you can no longer be around those people and have the same type of conversation. So now the relationship dynamic has changed. And so now they're seeing you in a different way. And so now they may no longer be viewing you as one of them. And that feeling within ourselves, just at a psyche level, at a subconscious level, it feels like ultimate rejection. It feels like you're being kicked out of the tribe. That's what that feels like. That's why so many are afraid to leave whatever their family nucleus has, accepted as truth is because as soon as you make a decision to step out of that space, here it goes. There goes life. There goes everything you know. Everything is going to have to start from zero, start from scratch. However, this is the most beautiful news that I could ever give you, is that when you leave, you go right back to zero. And in truth, you were never building anything real in the first place, like a house of cards. It was going to fall on itself at some point in time. And it's better off happening with you in control of the situation. You are better off listening to your guidance system, your internal guidance system that is continuously and perpetually telling you, hey, this ain't the circle for you. These people ain't for you. This is not where I need you to be. When you hear that God voice speaking within you, it's time to heed and it's time to move in accordance. Get a little sippy sip real quick. And if you don't, for your good, you will start to manifest situations that would get rid of people for you or get you in situations that are so tumultuous that is going to push you into a sense of urgency. And again, this isn't the universe testing you. This ain't none of that. This is you literally bringing experiences into your own life to get you to a space or a place where you can finally heal, where you can finally let go, where you can finally surrender and rise above whatever identity that you had that was holding you captive. Because when you're in that space, you were truly in slavery. Like, when you're all slaves, you might not recognize that you're slaves. It's only when you step outside of that camp of slaves that you look from the outside in and you say, wait a minute, that's slavery. But when you're in it, you believe that you are free. You believe that this is life. I was giving this example to, I forgot who it is at this point. I didn't have so many different conversations this week. But I remember this analogy that I said, it's like this glass wall. Oh, I think it was Carrie Nicole. Make sure to check her channel out. I remember saying it's almost like being in this glass wall, right? And she said, yes, like a zoo. Like you don't know you're in this trapping until you hit that wall or that fence or whatever it is. But for this example, let's go with glass. Let's say it's a glass wall. So you hit that glass wall, and finally you're just like, oh, I guess this is reality. This is my confines. And so you become used to that, not realizing there's something beyond that. But in order for you to be there, you have to escape. You have to get out of this space that you have come to call home. And that place of comfort that you found, even though it may be painful, you have still found as like your identity. You found that as your home. And that is why you continue to stay in this space of suffering. That's why you continue to have these feelings of anxiety. And I'm not saying it's on the other person. Like when I cut these people out of my life, it was because, oh, look how evil, look how terrible they are. It had very little to do with them and everything to do with me. The fact that I was identifying with these individuals was saying more about me than them, right? When I had stopped consuming drugs and even made the decision to finally stop selling drugs, I was in a place where I was like, wait, why am I in this circle? Why am I at this party? Why am I at this, why am I here in the first place? Everybody's asking me, man, you want to drink? You want to drink? I'm like, no, I don't drink. And they ask me about 10 times because they're drunk and they don't remember or they can't understand and comprehend. Right. And so I find myself in these situations where it's like I'm having to make sense of this environment that doesn't even have space for me anymore. It doesn't make sense to me and it doesn't make sense to them. It's almost like them saying, man, you shouldn't be here. Right. Yet I was holding on to it because I was afraid to let go of those people, not understanding that my freedom was on the other side and that there were people who I would meet on the other side. Right. Who had freed themselves from slavery. There was the Harriet Tubmans, right? There was the Frederick Douglasses of the world who are on the other side that were ready to welcome me into freedom. And so I know it is a frightening experience to let go of whatever it is that you are currently in. I know it is deeply anxious filled. It might be the biggest fear you have in your life at this moment in time, to let go of whoever it is in your life that is no longer a reflection of the version of you that you're being called into, right? You can never evolve into the highest version of self if you're still looking in the mirror of the old version of yourself. Quote that right there. Make sure to send me my royalties if you ever use that quote. But all seriousness, I know the feeling, but trust me, that feeling of fear is also an indicator of what you should do. Like recently, I got this inclination out of nowhere, out of the blue type thing, right? I love to just journal, and, sometimes my spirit would just lead me to do different exercises. And at some point in time, I believe I'm going to start like just launching these different templates, etc., for you guys to do. But, this is just a personal thing for a few years now. And the one that came up most recently was like, I created a list of all of my fears, right? I like detailed out all of my fears and even like the reason why I have that fear and then like solution. And then I look back and I said, whoa, my list of fears, my greatest fears in life are actually my greatest to-do list, right? If you want to build this confidence in yourself, right? If you want to become brave or bold or be this person who is truly living from a state of faith, you don't ask for faith and then you do the thing. You gain faith by doing the thing. It's like, I always say with Coach Bobby Bluford, I think he might have told me this back in the day, but it's like, you don't ask for the weight first, or you don't ask for the muscle in order to lift the weight. You lift the weight in order to gain the muscle. You lift the weight and then you gain the muscle. You lift the weight and then you gain the muscle. That's how this thing works. And so we have to make that conscious decision for ourselves to start stepping into things. Even when we're deeply afraid, step into that thing. Now, I'm not saying go against your instinct and your intuition. You'll know the difference. Trust me. If you sit with yourself just enough time, you'll know it's like, okay, this thing right here is going to actually be freedom for me. Like if it's that difficult conversation you need to have with that person, or it's that space that is not serving you that you need to leave, right? Or it's like, okay, go get the loan for the business or whatever it is. Hopefully, if you've really got your stuff, well, don't just jump into the loan unless you actually got your ducks in a row. But if you feel something that's just the next natural step, but you're afraid because of the story you're telling yourself about that thing, or what might happen, or what they may say, or what it may mean about you, take that step anyway. And when you do, the fear dissipates and you feel a sense of freedom that you've never experienced before. And this is from the horse's mouth right now. I'm telling you guys directly. One of those things for me was finally writing a book that I actually published. I've written manuscript after manuscript. I have shows, movies sitting on my laptop that are going to be out one day. But this was the first time I actually said, you know what? Let me just write the book. I'll edit it once and then I'm going to put the thing out. It's got typos in it. It's got this, that, and the third. That's perfectly fine with me as long as I put it out. And sure enough, facing that fear led to this, Doing Me Guilt-Free, which actually is going to be a very relevant book for anybody watching this video, because it's breaking free from people pleasing and unleashing your personal power. So make sure you get your copy. I will link it below in the description. Now, when you find yourself in this place of, again, debating, justifying, rationalizing whether or not you should stay in certain environments, sit with those feelings, take a true self-audit, especially in the season we're in right now, right? Like you'll be watching this in whatever season that's going to be right season for you. But at the time that I'm filming this, it's literally like this time of reflection, right? I believe we are in a Virgo retrograde. I believe we are in retrograde right now, and Virgo just started. And so I know that it is a space and a time for reflection. So step into that space of reflection for yourself. You don't have to rush anything, but just know that if you are avoiding something and knowingly avoiding it, life is going to compel you in a multitude of different ways to get you into a space that is most productive for your own growth, your own development, and your own spiritual evolution. That's just how this works. So if you do not run, but instead you take those steps, even when you're afraid, then and only then will you truly find freedom. Every single time. Every single time. So I appreciate you guys for watching this once again. Shameless Plizug, Doing Me Guilt-Free, my very first published book. This is the note takers version. This is like the first manuscript almost ever. Actually, no, yeah, it is the first manuscript ever. It's even got like a typo in like the intro, right? So this is the very first manuscript, but right now I do have a publication of the smaller paperback version that you guys can get your hands on. So make sure you go into the description below and get yourself a copy of Doing Me Guilt-Free. Appreciate you guys. Love you. Peace.